Hi everyone, I am starting this reading vlog on the evening of Friday, the 22nd of May. It is a bank holiday weekend in the UK, and as a freelance person, I don't often take bank holidays, but I am taking this one. I'm taking it. Join me for reading, for cooking, for baking, for board games, all the usual stuff that I've been doing. I was gonna say in lockdown, but that I just generally do anyway. But I have a very specific purpose with this reading vlog in that I am trying to find a book or books that I love as much as the Free Decline series by Nikki French. I have spoken about those books so much, I really recommend them, particularly recommend the audiobooks narrated by Beth Chalmers. It is a series of 8 books about a psychotherapist called Free Decline who gets messed up in these police investigations, but at the same time is going through a lot of personal stuff herself. There's a lot of character development, and it's amazing female-led crime fiction, which can be tricky to locate. So I have taken to Twitter and I have taken to Instagram and I've taken to YouTube, and I have said, please help me find books that I may love just as much. And I listened, and then I contacted bookshops and I have bought books. I'm not going to be able to get through all of these this weekend, obviously, but this is the pile that I will be choosing books from. Firstly, I bought these 3 books, which aren't recommendations from other people. They're just 3 more Nikki French books that I wanted to buy. So this is Losing You, which is about a woman called Nina Landry who gives up city life, moves to a small rural island off the coast of England, and then her teenage daughter goes missing, and suspicion flies throughout this new village that she has just moved to. That sounds great. I also bought The Safe House, which is about a doctor who specialises in post-traumatic stress disorder. She's also moved to the coast to escape her problems and to be alone with her young daughter. But then the police want her to take in someone called Fiona Mackenzie, a girl whose parents have been savagely murdered. But then things get very complicated. I mean, it already sounds complicated, but things get more complicated. And then I also bought The Memory Game, which has a therapist in it, and given that Frida was so good, I thought this might be a good one to go for as well. I don't think the therapist is the main character, but therapy as a theme in these books I have found really interesting and dealt with really well. So this is about a character called Jane Martello, and a skeleton is unearthed in her back garden, and she's shocked to find out that is her school friend Natalie, who went missing 25 years ago. So then she talks to her therapist about this and then uncovers memories about things that went on when she was at school. Those are the Nikki French books, and then I also bought these 3 based on your recommendations. Many people recommended Ellie Griffiths, and this, The Crossing Places, is the first in the Dr. Ruth Galloway mystery series. She is a forensic archaeologist, and she is called to the site of a body near the Norfolk coast, and she is asked, are these the remains of a local girl who disappeared 10 years ago? And then a second girl goes missing and she gets wrapped up in that. The other one that was recommended quite a lot is Claire McGowan's The Lost. This one is about a forensic psychologist who is called Paula Maguire, and it's about 2 teenage girls who go missing along the Irish border near the town where she grew up. And as she starts to investigate these disappearings, it drags up stuff from the past that may be linked. And then finally, I was recommended The Neighbour by Fiona Cummins, which many people said they had read in one day. This one is also set by the coast because you guys know me. It's about a family called the Lockwoods who have moved to a new town, but on the very day that they move in, a serial killer strikes in the woods behind their house. And the problem is, apart from the fact that it's a serial killer, they don't know any of the neighbours and they don't know who to trust because they're strangers. And that sounds very intriguing. Lots of peeking through the blinds across the street, that kind of thing. So those are the 6 books that I'm going to pick from this weekend. Obviously, as I said, not going to read all of these 6 books, but I will talk to you about the ones that I do pick up and show you what I get up to in between. So we haven't had the most promising start to this reading vlog. I started reading this last night, which is The Neighbour by Fiona Cummins, and then was reading it again this morning, and I'm going to DNF it. The writing style is not really to my taste. I would much rather read a book that uses very simple words, but lots of them, in order to delve under the surface and explore a situation. This is quite fast-paced, but is trying to use quite flowery language in places to elevate it, and I don't find that very effective. I am intrigued by the family. This is the one about the serial killer and the new people moving into the neighborhood, but it's darting very quickly between lots of different people, and one of those is the murderer, who happens to have disfigurements. And I mean, maybe that will be more nuanced later on, but that immediately just puts me, I suppose, on my guard and makes me exasperated with that part of the book. As I said, maybe more nuanced later, but it's just, it rings alarm bells for me. And given I'm not enjoying the style that this book is written in anyway, plus one of the chapters, which is quite long for the book, it's not a very long chapter in general, but it's longer than the others, is about the police officer going into an autopsy and feeling sick, and everyone's like, you shouldn't be here. And it's quite obvious from the very beginning of the chapter that that's her husband that is having the autopsy, but it's teased and teased and teased out until the very end of the chapter, when the last line is, and it was her husband. And you can kind of guess that from the very beginning of the chapter. I want to not be able to guess things like that. So I'm going to put this one down, move on to something else. It is Lena's birthday tomorrow. If you don't follow Lena, I'll link her channel down below. We've been friends a long time and she lives very close to me. We often wave to each other, shout to each other, me from my kitchen window, she as she is on her daily run / walk. So today I thought I would make some bookish biscuits. I made a video a while ago where I tried to make biscuits that had iced book covers on, so I would like to make some of those but with her favorite books on, and then I can leave them outside and she can collect them when she's out on her daily exercise. So let's do that. While the biscuits are cooling, I'm making the questions for the quiz that I'm doing tonight with Lauren and Jean. So I decided I would do a round of sounding out book titles, because I just think it's really fun. So this is one of them here. See if you can guess what it is. So you have to kind of say what you can see. You can pause if you want to. So anyway, we have, this is seagull. So gull, Ithers Travels. We have Gulliver's Travels. I'm having far too much fun doing these. This one I think is my favorite so far. Again, I will let you pause it in case you want to guess. But this is the 39 steps. If you would like to do this quiz, it'll still be up on Jean's channel. I'll link it down below. Plus I've just given you 2 of the answers, so off you go. Biscuits are all cooled. So I've done 5 that I can turn into books. I think I'm gonna do Wicked, Little Women, The Hunger Games, Normal People, and something else. I'll have a think. So Normal People and Wicked are some of Lena's favourite books. She's been rereading The Hunger Games recently because she's been doing a video on it. And Little Women, we were all obsessed with the film early this year. And then I've just made a lot, too many actually, of circular biscuits. So some of those for us, some of them are for her. And then I thought the ones for her I'm going to put in this tin here because I thought it was very cute. Like last time, I have things to decorate with, but I've just realised I only have this much icing sugar, which is maybe not enough. I also have this to write with, writing, icing and food colouring. So let's do this. No! I snapped off the end of a biscuit.
Is everyone ready to get quizzy?
Let's get quizzical.
Quizzical, quizzical. I want to get quizzical.
I think this is the best way to set it up because there's these options as well, but I think this one?
Oh, I like that.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, I have to.
Well, that's decision made. We'll do this instead.
It is bedtime and I haven't read any more today because making the biscuits took so long and then prepping for the quiz and then doing the quiz. It's bedtime now. And I don't know which book to pick next, so I'm going to ask Mr. M if he will look at the blurbs. I want to go for Nicky French, so I'm going to get him to read the blurbs and pick one for me because I can't decide. This one. Okay, thank you.
I'm going to build a rail into line into Tamworth.
And then I will build a canal 1, 2, 3 into Nuneaton. I did that annoying thing where I asked someone to pick something that I should read, in this case Mr. M, and then completely ignored what they said. So he picked The Safe House for me, as you saw, but it has smaller font, not tiny font, but smaller than the other ones, and I was tired, my eyesight was blurry, so I decided to go for The Memory Game instead, and I'm 100 pages into it and I'm loving it. I'm so glad that I'm loving it. Something that I love about Nicky French is that there's always a large number of characters, and she often, well they, because it's a husband and wife who write, they often write big family gatherings, and you get to feel not really close, but closer than if you were reading a police investigation, because you're reading it from the point of view of one of the family members. You get to feel quite close to all of the characters, and therefore when the whodunit comes along, it feels very close. I mean, I haven't obviously got to the whodunit yet. I've only read the first 100 pages, so it may be someone that I haven't met yet, but we've met so many characters that it is likely to be one of them. So this is about a woman called Jane who's recently been divorced from her husband Claude. She has 2 grown-up sons, and Claude's family is the heart of this local community. Claude has 3 brothers. I had to make myself a family tree at the back because I was getting quite confused over who everyone was, so I had to scribble a little family tree. I didn't mind doing that, and as soon as I'd done that, I managed to get my head around it, and I would rather have it be complex like that and me have to work a little bit than for it to be whatever the opposite of that would be. Jane's ex-husband Claude has 3 brothers and a younger sister who went missing when they were all teenagers because they've known each other since they were very young. Jane has gone back to the hometown for this huge family gathering. She's also helping to excavate and renovate a house there in the grounds of that family, and while they're doing that, they uncover the bones of Natalie, realise that, as they suspected, she had been killed all those years ago, and also when she was killed, she was pregnant. So we're going from there, and Jane has started going to therapy to try and come to terms with her own childhood, so we're learning about that, and her brother wants to make a film about the family. So we've got all of this reconstruction going on. Reconstruction in houses, reconstructing memories, constructing a film, and in that encouraging people to reconstruct their memories and their narratives. And that's what I really like about Nicky French, is that it is, on the surface, it's a crime thriller, but there's a lot of stuff bubbling under the surface and a lot of imagery which you can really sink your teeth into. I saw that the workmen were standing there ready. They were clutching mugs of tea and smoking, and their warm, wet breath produced a cloud of vapour that rose up from their faces. They looked like an old bonfire that was being rained on. I just think that that's great. Anyway, it's Monday morning. Mr. M is here. He's behind me. We have failed at going for our morning walks this weekend. It's a bank holiday, as I said, in the UK. So we are not at work today, though I do have to do a little bit of work later. Just, I don't know, I've been feeling really exhausted. We got into such a good routine and a good sleeping pattern and getting up and going for our 5 a.m. walks. But today we were up at 6:30 and that's too late for us to go for a walk safely. So we must go tomorrow because I will regret it otherwise. But anyway, I will check in with you throughout the day and show you what I'm up to. Lots of you have been asking me to show you my drop scone recipe. So a drop scone is a Scotch pancake. The recipe is quite similar to American pancakes, but they are smaller. So you need 175 grams of self-raising flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 40 grams of caster sugar, and also a pinch of salt. Mix that together in a bowl, add 1 free-range egg, add 200 milliliters of milk, and then whisk all of that together. You then want to put them into a pan. I do 4 at a time and I use 2 tablespoons of mixture for each pancake, and I put it on a relatively low heat. Let it heat up slowly, and when they start bubbling, that's when you flip them over. They are particularly delicious with butter and jam. You need to eat them as soon as you cook them, so only make as many as you can eat and then keep the mixture to make more later.
I tend to do things as much as I can just to get a sense of authenticity.
What about the bell ringing?
The bell ringing was harder. I went to, so in the book, Violet meets a group of bell ringers who were all men. At that time, they were all men. And it was a kind of a group that balanced out the women. That was what they're, and they also are up in the tower and they're ringing for themselves. Whereas the women are all making stuff for other people, typical women, you know, looking after other people. And the men are just doing it because it's this mathematical pattern. It's a challenge. They don't really, they care what it sounds like for whether they make mistakes or not, but they don't think about the people out there being rung to.
Yay! Hello. Morning.
I've given up at this stage, I'm in my bed.
That's alright. What did you do to your foot?
I just dropped multiple times. And like, that was just me. Hello.
Hello, good morning. Question, have we reached the ponytail stage of lockdown? I'm halfway through 2 books, let me talk to you about them. I haven't really sat down and spoke these past few days. I find it tricky to talk to the camera when I'm also working. So yesterday, which was Tuesday, we did go for our early morning walk. We walked further than normal and went across to Hampstead Heath for 5 o'clock in the morning, which was really lovely to walk around. And then yesterday, after doing admin and writing workshops, I interviewed Tracy Chevalier for Toast online, and you can watch that interview over on their IGTV. So I'll link that in the description box down below. This morning, I went for a walk with Mr. M very early, but very close to home. So we went for our usual 5 a.m. walk and then came home, played a board game, and then I spoke to Lauren and Jean before we started work for the day. So we had a chat at 8 while I was making some bread, and it's always lovely to catch up with them. So let me tell you about the books that I have been reading as well. So as I mentioned before, I am reading The Memory Game by Nikki French. I'm now halfway through it, and I'm still feeling the same as I was the last time I checked in with you. I'm still really enjoying it. I am slightly worried that, I mentioned that she's going to a therapist to help her come to terms with things in her childhood and kind of remember stuff. I'm worried that she's going to remember that she's the person that killed her friend, because that would be really cheesy. So I really hope that that's not the reveal. I have faith that it's not going to be that. It's just a small part of my brain that was going, maybe this is what happened, and I really hope not. I also started reading Ellie Griffith's book, which is one of the books that you recommended. It's called The Crossing Places. It's set in Norfolk. As I said way back at the beginning of this video, the main character Ruth is a forensic archaeologist, and she's been called to what they suspect is a murder site, but may actually turn out to be ancient ruins. And I'm loving the themes in this, the themes of religion, myth, ritual, sacrifice. There's a lot going on, and I think that it's written very, very well. Enjoying it very much. The one thing that is really bugging me about this book, and if you've read it, I would love to know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below, please. The main character, Ruth, keeps on talking about her weight, berating herself about it. She says she's 12 stone, she had been meaning to get to a gym, she's sick of getting out of breath when she's walking, etc. And her parents, especially her mother, aren't very nice to her. So you could see it as this is a character trait, and she doesn't have self-confidence and she thinks badly about herself because other people have made her feel that way. But when we meet other characters in this book, they all think this about her in their heads. They don't say it, but we hear their thoughts because it's a book. And so, for instance, the detective, when he meets her, one of the first things he thinks about her is, oh, she's too fat to be a policewoman. And it just comes up again and again and again. There's one point where she's getting into a car, and yeah, Ruth climbs in feeling fat, as she always does in cars. And I just can't work out the point that this book is trying to make. If it was a character trait and she was feeling a lack of self-confidence about herself, then we could learn about that. But it's not a character trait because everybody's talking about it. And then it moves from being a character trait into being a judgment that the book seems to be placing on her. And those are 2 very different things. If you've read it, please let me know if this continues. I mean, I will find out myself, obviously, because I'm going to keep reading it. And if that goes away slightly, because it really is just bugging me, if that goes away and the rest is as brilliant as it has been so far, then I'm sure that this is a series I'm going to keep on reading. I'm going to end the vlog here now though, because I think it's been, well, I know it's already quite long because I've already started editing it. I had a lot of fun filming this though. I hope that you enjoyed watching it. I like just throwing lots of things together in one video. It helps to give me focus in these strange times that we find ourselves in as well. If you enjoy my channel and you are able to support me on Patreon, that would be amazing. I will leave a link down below if you would like to check that out. If you don't want to or you can't, please don't worry about it, but the link is there if you would like to take a look. Is there anything else that I need to say? I don't think so. No. I'll be back for another video very soon. I hope that you guys are doing okay. Lots of love. Mwah. Bye.